The Galactic Empire had ruled the stars for millennia, a symbol of power and control. Its commanders, confident in their might, had long dismissed the idea that there could be any race or force capable of challenging their dominance. The Empire had crushed rebellion after rebellion, and no one dared to stand against them. But there were whispers, rumors of something forgotten, something that had been lost to time. It was a story no one believed. Deep within the unknown reaches of space, in a dark corner of the galaxy, humanity's once mighty warships lay dormant. These ships had once been the pride of the human race, their designs unmatched, their firepower unrivaled. But those days were long gone, or so the galaxy thought. The humans, crushed by war and disaster, had disappeared into history. Their ships were said to be relics of a bygone age, their power a fading memory. The Galactic Empire had long since stopped paying attention to these old stories, too focused on its current challenges to worry about ancient human technology. But they were wrong. They didn't know that the humans had been preparing. They didn't know that, while the Empire celebrated its victory over the lesser races, humanity had secretly been rebuilding itself, learning, evolving, and growing stronger in ways no one could have imagined. It was a dark day in the galaxy when the first of the ships reappeared. It was not loud, nor was it an event of great fanfare. It simply emerged from the blackness of space, moving quietly, almost as if it were nothing more than a shadow. To anyone who saw it, it looked like an old warship, rusted, damaged, and forgotten. But to those who understood, it was more than that. The ship wasn't just an old machine. It was a symbol of everything humanity had been through, a reminder that even in their darkest hours, they never truly gave up. But the Galactic Empire was not prepared for such a discovery. They thought the humans were gone. And yet, here they were, alive and more dangerous than ever. The first officer to encounter the ship was Commander Varric, a high-ranking officer in the Empire's fleet. He had heard the rumors, of course. Everyone had. But he dismissed them as stories, nothing more. His fleet was invincible after all. He had never seen anything that even came close to matching the Empire's might. The thought that humanity could have developed something capable of challenging the Empire seemed laughable. Varric was assigned to investigate the strange object that had appeared on the outskirts of the Empire's space. He expected it to be some sort of malfunctioning probe, a piece of debris from some forgotten battle, or perhaps a relic from a dead civilization. What he did not expect was to find a ship, alive, functional, and full of unknown power. As he approached the ship, his sensors pinged. The ship's hull was covered in strange markings, symbols no one in the Empire had ever seen before. The technology appeared ancient, but it was far more advanced than anything the Empire had produced. Commander Varric's curiosity turned to unease as he watched the ship hover in front of him, almost as if it were waiting for him. His instincts told him to back off, but his orders were clear: investigate, report, and destroy if necessary. He ordered his fleet to surround the strange vessel. His weapons officers were ready to fire at a moment's notice. But before any command could be given, the ship did something that left everyone speechless. It moved. Not just in a small, controlled manner. No, this ship moved with purpose. It turned sharply, its massive engines firing up with an intensity Varric had never seen. The ship seemed to come to life in an instant, sending shockwaves through space. Varric's fleet was unprepared. They had no idea how to react. They had expected a defenseless relic, not a war machine from the past. In an instant, the human ship opened fire. The sheer force of the blast sent Varric's fleet reeling. Shields that had been thought impenetrable shuddered under the assault. Ships that had been considered the backbone of the Empire were now nothing more than twisted pieces of scrap metal. Commander Varric's eyes widened as he realized what was happening. This wasn't just a ship. It was a weapon. A weapon that had been dormant for 3,000 years, waiting for this moment to rise again. The blast from the human ship tore through the darkness, leaving a trail of destruction in its wake. The galaxy watched in disbelief as the Empire's most powerful warships were reduced to nothing more than wreckage. The human ship, with its strange markings and unknown technology, had just shown the galaxy that it was not just a forgotten relic. It was a weapon of unimaginable power. As the remnants of Varric's fleet drifted through space, the realization set in. Humanity was not gone. They had never been defeated. They had simply been waiting for the right moment to return. And now, the galaxy would know what it meant to face the might of the human race. The Galactic Empire had no idea what they were up against. They had dismissed the humans for so long, believing that their once great civilization had crumbled into dust. But now, the forgotten era had returned with a vengeance. Humanity's warships, powerful and terrifying, were once again a force to be reckoned with. Back in the Empire's command center, the news of the attack sent shockwaves through the ranks. The Empire's leaders, who had once scoffed at the thought of humanity's power, now stood in silence. They had no plan, no strategy, and no idea how to deal with the humans. The galaxy had just been reminded that the greatest threat to the Empire wasn't some alien race, it was humanity itself. Commander Varric's message was brief, but it was clear. The humans are back, and they're not defenseless anymore. The galaxy now faced a new reality. The age of the Galactic Empire had lasted for thousands of years, but the arrival of humanity's warships had marked the beginning of a new chapter, one where the once dominant empire would have to confront the unstoppable force of humanity's forgotten power. And as Varric's message was transmitted across the galaxy, the people of the Empire knew that everything had just changed. The battle for the galaxy was far from over, and humanity was about to make its mark. In the heart of the galaxy, far beyond the Empire's grasp, a new story was beginning to unfold. The arrival of humanity's warships had left the galaxy stunned and the Empire on edge. As Commander Varric's fleet had been torn apart by the forgotten ships, no one could fully comprehend the scope of the threat that lay ahead. But as the remnants of Varric's forces regrouped, one thing was clear. This was only the beginning. Back on Earth, deep beneath the surface of the planet, ancient technology that had once shaped the galaxy began to stir. The warships, long dormant in hidden bays, began to hum to life once again. For 3,000 years, the people of Earth had kept their greatest weapons buried, awaiting the day when they would be needed most. That day had come. On Earth, the last surviving humans stood at the ready, prepared for the battle that would decide the future of the galaxy. The humans had not remained idle during their long years of silence. While the galaxy had expanded and conquered, Earth had quietly rebuilt itself, studying, developing, and learning from the mistakes of the past. The humans had never truly disappeared. They had simply bided their time. The Galactic Empire had made a fatal mistake by assuming that humanity had been defeated in some long-forgotten war. They believed the human race was no longer a threat. But now, as the first of the warships powered up and moved from their hidden bays, it became evident that the Empire was wrong. The war machines of Earth were not relics of the past. They were the future of warfare. At the helm of one of these massive ships stood Captain Alia, a brilliant strategist and leader of the fleet. Her face was a mixture of determination and calm as she prepared for the upcoming battle. The controls beneath her hands were as familiar as they were ancient. These ships had been designed with humanity's greatest minds in mind. Cutting-edge technology, devastating weaponry, and unmatched agility. As the crew prepared for launch, Alia's thoughts turned to the past, to the day when the humans had been forced to retreat, to hide. They had done what was necessary to survive, but the pain of that time still lingered. Now, they had returned, not out of vengeance, but out of necessity. The galaxy needed to understand that humanity was not something to be feared only because of their weapons. No, it was the strength of their spirit, their resilience, and their refusal to ever be broken that made them the true threat. Above the planet, the skies began to crackle with energy. One by one, The warships began to rise from their hidden bases, each ship as imposing and powerful as the next. The sheer size of these ships was beyond anything the Galactic Empire had ever seen. It wasn't just the size, though. It was the precision, the technology, and the raw firepower that made these ships so terrifying. The Empire's ships, sophisticated as they were, could not compare to the might of these ancient war machines. The first ship to rise from Earth's surface was the Titanus, a massive dreadnought that had once been the symbol of humanity's strength. Now, it was the harbinger of their return. As the ship ascended into the sky, the earth shook beneath it. The ground cracked, sending dust clouds into the air. The Titanus moved with purpose, its engines roaring to life, and the fearsome weapons that lined its hull began to hum with power. The Titanus was not alone. Dozens of ships, all with their own unique designs, lifted off from Earth. Some were sleek and fast, built for rapid assault and precision strikes. Others were hulking giants, their massive forms designed to withstand the harshest of battles. But all of them shared one thing in common. They were built to destroy. As the ships moved toward the stars, humanity's leaders gathered in the command center. Their eyes were filled with resolve, but there was no joy in their expressions. They had no desire to wage war. They had no desire for violence. But they had seen what the Empire had done to the galaxy. They had seen the suffering caused by the unchallenged rule of the Galactic Empire. And they knew, deep down, that the only way to stop the Empire's tyranny was to fight. At the heart of the command center, Captain Alia stood in silence as the ships moved further into space. Her eyes glowed with a fierce determination. The Galactic Empire would not know what hit them. Humanity had returned, and they would show the galaxy the true meaning of strength. The Titanus was the first to breach the boundaries of Earth's atmosphere. It sailed into space with deadly precision, its massive engines leaving behind a trail of fire. The sight of the ship was awe-inspiring, its massive form eclipsing the stars around it. As it sailed through the stars, it became clear to all who saw it. Humanity was back. Back in the Galactic Empire, news of the reappearance of humanity's warships spread like wildfire. The Empire's leaders watched in disbelief as reports flooded in from every corner of the galaxy. They had underestimated the human race. They had dismissed the idea that the humans could ever return. But now, they had no choice but to face the consequences of their arrogance. Commander Varric, still recovering from his disastrous encounter with the human ship, was now tasked with figuring out how to deal with the rising threat. The shock of seeing the Titanus had not worn off, and the Empire's military leaders were scrambling to respond. But they were no closer to understanding what they were up against. The Titanus and the rest of humanity's ships were not like anything the Empire had encountered before. Their technology was unfamiliar, their tactics unpredictable. The sheer power of these ships sent a chill down the spine of the Empire's commanders. They knew one thing for certain. If humanity's fleet could be so powerful after 3,000 years of silence, what could they do now? As the first ship of humanity's fleet soared into space, the galaxy held its breath. The Empire was in awe, but it was also filled with fear. Humanity's return was not just a shock. It was a challenge. A challenge to everything the Empire had believed, to everything they had fought for. And the battle for the galaxy was about to begin. The vast reaches of space trembled as humanity's warships moved further from Earth. The soundless hum of their engines filled the emptiness, a sound only the ship's crew could hear, but it reverberated throughout the galaxy. It was as though the very fabric of space had felt the return of these long-dormant behemoths. The ships, once thought to be mere legends, were now moving toward the heart of the Galactic Empire, and the galaxy's leaders were beginning to panic. Commander Varric, whose fleet had been decimated by the reawakening of humanity's ships, was not one to show fear. However, as he watched the reports flooding in from every quadrant, a cold, unmistakable chill ran down his spine. The Titanus, humanity's largest dreadnought, was only the beginning. The shockwaves of its awakening had reached every corner of the galaxy, and now the Empire was scrambling to organize a defense. "Have we received any further intel on the capabilities of their ships?" Varric asked, his voice steady but tinged with a deep unease. He sat in the darkened war room aboard the Starbane, his ship staring at the holographic display of the galaxy. The glowing projection of Earth sat at the center, surrounded by tiny blits representing humanity's ships as they moved toward the Imperial core. An officer standing beside him tapped a few commands into the console, and a new report appeared. "Sir, the Titanus alone has already broken through multiple defensive fleets. No ship has managed to even get close to it." Varric's jaw tightened. He knew that the Galactic Empire's fleets were the most advanced in the galaxy, the result of thousands of years of warfare, innovation, and conquest. Yet humanity had returned after 3 millennia with technology that could effortlessly slice through their most powerful ships like a knife through paper. The Titanus was just one ship. Varric had witnessed what it had done to his forces. It had shown the galaxy a strength that the Empire had never anticipated. "Send a message to High Command," Varric ordered, his eyes narrowing. "We need reinforcements. Immediately. This isn't just an invasion. This is humanity's declaration of war." But as he made the command, he knew that it wasn't simply about reinforcements anymore. It wasn't just a matter of ships or firepower. Humanity's return was a symbolic challenge, a challenge to everything the Galactic Empire stood for. The Empire had expanded across the stars for centuries, conquering and subjugating countless species. Their rule was absolute, or so they had believed. But now there was a new player in the galaxy, and this player was not only formidable. They were ancient. They were survivors. They had learned the hard lessons of war and peace, and they were ready to make their mark once again. In the command center on Earth, Captain Alia, commander of the Titanus, stood before a massive viewport, watching the stars slowly come into view. The feeling of watching humanity's power return to the galaxy was indescribable. The humans had always been strong, but their strength lay not just in their ships or weapons. It was in their spirit, their resilience. And now, as their ships surged forward, those very qualities would be put to the test. "We've received reports of Imperial movements," said Lieutenant Davin, Alia's right-hand officer. "The Empire is mustering its forces. They're organizing fleets to intercept us." Captain Alia nodded, her expression calm, but the fire of determination burned behind her eyes. "We are not here to start a war," she said quietly, though everyone in the room could hear the conviction in her voice. "We are here to remind the galaxy what happens when you take humanity for granted." Humanity's ships were designed with one purpose in mind: defense. They were built to protect, not conquer. But Earth had been silent for so long, the galaxy had forgotten the true power of the human race. Now, as the ships of Earth moved through the stars, it became clear that no matter how much time had passed, humanity's fire had never been extinguished. "We will meet them head-on," Alia continued, her voice steady. "But we will show them who we are, not through destruction, but through strength. Let them understand why humanity never gave up." In space, the Titanus continued its silent journey toward the heart of the Empire. The ship's massive engines burned bright, leaving a trail of energy in its wake. Behind it, dozens of other warships followed, each one a perfect example of humanity's ingenuity and power. They were silent and swift, moving with an almost eerie precision. The Empire had no idea what was coming. The Empire's response was swift. As the first human warships neared the borders of Imperial space, their intelligence networks detected a wave of Imperial warships on an intercept course. Varric's message had been heard. The Empire was preparing for battle. The Imperial forces, led by Varric's own fleet, gathered at the outskirts of the galaxy's most heavily fortified sectors. They knew they would face humanity's might sooner or later, but they hadn't expected it to come so quickly. The Titanus and its fleet of ships moved with purpose, each warship now fully aware of what was at stake. As the two forces neared, both sides knew they were about to clash in what would be the greatest battle the galaxy had ever seen. But for the first time in thousands of years, the Empire was unsure. Humanity's return had caught them off guard, and they couldn't shake the feeling that they were about to be tested in ways they had never imagined. Captain Alia and her crew knew the stakes. They had no intention of backing down. The fate of the galaxy rested on the shoulders of the human fleet, and for them, failure was not an option. Humanity had returned, and the Empire would never be the same. The tension in the void of space was thick enough to cut with a blade. Humanity's ships, like phantoms in the dark, moved silently toward the heart of the Galactic Empire, their silhouettes barely visible against the backdrop of distant stars. The first waves of Imperial fleets had assembled, and their commanders braced themselves for what they believed would be a straightforward battle, until they saw the might of Earth's return. On the Titanus, Captain Alia stood at the bridge, her hands clasped behind her back, as she gazed out at the vast expanse of space ahead. She could feel the anticipation of her crew, their eyes locked on their consoles, every heartbeat a countdown to the moment of truth. The time for secrecy had passed. The galaxy now knew that humanity had returned, but the question was, would they be met with fear or defiance? Communications, open a channel to the Imperial fleet, Alia commanded, her voice calm but firm. The lieutenant at the communications panel quickly complied. The static buzzed for a moment before a sharp, commanding voice filled the air. It was General Tarek, the leader of the Imperial forces. "This is General Tarek of the Galactic Empire," the voice rang out. "Turn back now, and we may yet show mercy. Proceed, and you will face the full force of the Empire." Alia's gaze never wavered from the horizon. Her hands gripped the armrests of her chair, her fingers digging in with intensity. She was ready for this. "General Tarek, the only mercy we ask is that you let the galaxy see what happens when humanity is underestimated. We will not retreat. Prepare for the consequences of your actions." She ended the communication without waiting for a response, knowing the Empire's pride would only lead them to respond with force. The Galactic Empire had never encountered a foe like this, not in thousands of years. The fact that they were facing humans, an ancient race they had long forgotten, was already shaking the foundations of their rule. At the same time, across the cold expanse, the Imperial fleets surged forward. Their ships, sleek and designed for war, moved with precision toward the human ships that dared to enter their space. Each Imperial ship was a massive fortress, armed to the teeth with weapons capable of destroying entire worlds. But none of that would matter now. Humanity's ships were not like any the Empire had ever faced. Alia gave the order, and the first salvo from the Titanus erupted into the void. The soundless explosion of energy rocked space as the weapon systems came online, firing with deadly accuracy. Imperial ships were caught off guard as the human firepower slammed into their ranks, slicing through their shields like paper. The Empire's response was immediate. Their ships opened fire, massive energy blasts shooting toward humanity's fleet. But it became quickly apparent that the humans had not just come to fight. They had come prepared. On the Starbane, Commander Varric watched in disbelief as his ship's weapons deflected harmlessly off the hulls of the human warships. "How is this possible?" he muttered, his hand clenched into a fist. "Their shields are impenetrable." Varric had fought in countless battles over the years, and he knew the strength of the Empire's weaponry. Yet humanity's ships shrugged off the blows with ease, their advanced technology holding up under the Empire's assault. It was clear that the humans had been hiding something that the Empire had never seen before. On the Titanus, Alia's eyes flicked to the tactical display. Increase firepower. Target their command ships. The battle raged around them as the human ships cut through the Imperial lines like a scythe through wheat. Imperial warships were torn apart, their massive hulls crumpling under the force of humanity's weapons. The Titanus, along with the rest of the fleet, unleashed a storm of destruction, their attacks guided with deadly precision. But the Empire was not easily defeated. As their ships were destroyed, they began to adapt, launching new strategies to counter the humans. Waves of smaller ships darted toward humanity's fleet, firing smaller, more agile weapons designed to overwhelm the enemy. The battle began to shift, but the tide had already turned. The human fleet had made its mark. Inside the Titanus, Alia's eyes burned with determination. The Empire had never seen anything like this, and it was becoming clear that they were not ready for what was to come. "Hold steady," she ordered, her voice unwavering. "They are only beginning to understand who we are." Despite the heavy losses on both sides, humanity's ships held their ground. They fought not with desperation, but with the calm precision of a species that had survived and thrived for centuries, even millennia. Humanity's return was not just a show of strength, it was a message. In the command center of the Starbane, Varric's frustration grew as he watched his forces struggle against the onslaught. He had underestimated humanity. The Empire had ruled the galaxy for so long that they had forgotten what true strength was. Now, they were learning a harsh lesson. "Commander, we've lost communications with the outer fleet," an officer reported. "Their ships are being overwhelmed." Varric clenched his fists. "We cannot let this continue. We must retaliate with everything we have. Send in the reinforcements." But the damage had already been done. The humans had shown their power, and they were not backing down. As the battle wore on, the vastness of space seemed to shrink. There were no words now, only the sound of destruction, the silence of space punctuated by the flashes of weaponry. The Empire had never faced a threat like this before, and it was clear that no matter how many ships they sent, humanity's return was not something they could stop. The clash was far from over, but for the first time in centuries, the Galactic Empire was losing ground. Humanity had risen again, and they were showing the galaxy that no one, not even the most powerful empire in the stars, could ever erase them. And the Galactic Empire, in its desperation, knew that this was only the beginning. The battle had raged for hours, but the outcome was becoming undeniable. The Imperial fleet, once sure of its superiority, was now retreating in disarray. Humanity's ships had proven to be far more advanced than the Empire had ever imagined. The Empire, with its vast armada and centuries of technological advancement, had underestimated Earth. They believed they had nothing to fear. Now their forces were scattered, unable to regroup, and they found themselves facing a relentless foe that seemed to grow stronger with each passing moment. Alia stood on the bridge of the Titanus, her eyes focused on the view screen, which displayed the chaos of the battlefield. Around her, her crew moved with swift efficiency, coordinating fire, repairing systems, and communicating with the other ships in the fleet. The human ships, with their ancient but incredibly powerful technology, moved like a swarm of bees, unpredictable and deadly. The Empire's ships, on the other hand, were clumsy and slow, outclassed at every turn. "We've broken their lines, Captain," Lieutenant Ryan reported from his station, his voice filled with awe. "The Imperial forces are retreating." Alia nodded. "Don't let up. We need to push them back further. We've come too far to give them the chance to regroup." The Empire had underestimated humanity's capabilities in their arrogance, and now they were paying the price. Alia knew, however, that this was just the beginning. The true test would come after the initial shock had worn off, when the Empire would gather its strength and launch its counteroffensive. On the Starbane, Commander Varric was seething. He had seen entire fleets destroyed in his years of service, but never had he witnessed such destruction at the hands of a race they had considered insignificant. Humanity's technology was far beyond what the Empire had expected, and their resilience was unmatched. The Empire had once ruled the stars with an iron fist, but now they were on the back foot, scrambling to salvage whatever remained of their pride. "This isn't over, Commander," one of his officers said, trying to bring some semblance of calm to the tense bridge. "We still have our reinforcements coming. We'll hit them with everything we have." Varric's eyes narrowed. Do you really think more ships will make a difference? They've already shown us what they're capable of. We need something more, something that can turn the tide in our favor. He knew the Empire had powerful weapons at its disposal, but nothing they had could match the devastating power humanity wielded. The battle was more than just a test of military might. It was a battle of ideologies. The Empire had relied on its technology and its superior numbers for so long that it had forgotten the true nature of war. It was about adaptability, strategy, and willpower, things humanity had in abundance. As the Titaness and the other human ships pushed forward, Varric knew that his fleet was running out of options. The Empire had no answer for the ancient machines that humanity had brought to the fight. The battlefield was littered with the wreckage of Imperial ships, their hulks floating aimlessly in space, the remnants of an empire that had once believed itself invincible. But even as the battle seemed to tip in humanity's favor, Aelia could sense the tension building. The Empire would not fall so easily. They would fight to the bitter end, and humanity had yet to reveal its full potential. There was still more to come, more that the Empire could not anticipate. All units, prepare for the next phase, Aelia ordered, her voice resolute. We're not just here to win a battle. We're here to send a message to the galaxy. Across the battlefield, humanity's ships moved with purpose, their next target already in sight. They were not just fighting for survival, they were fighting for their place in the galaxy. They were fighting for the right to exist, to be respected, and to show that no one could erase them from the stars. Varric, on the other hand, had no such vision. His goal was simple: crush the humans and restore the Empire's dominance. But as the battle raged on, it became clear that the Empire's greatest strength, its overwhelming firepower, wasn't enough. The humans had outsmarted them at every turn, using their ancient ships in ways the Empire couldn't have imagined. The Titaness was like a ghost, appearing from one direction only to disappear and strike from another. Commander, we've lost contact with the Outer Rim fleets, one of Varric's officers reported, his voice shaking. They're gone. The human fleet has already cut them off. Varric's fists clenched. We cannot let this continue. Prepare the reinforcements and send the word. The Empire does not surrender. But even as he gave the orders, Varric knew deep down that the tide was turning. The Galactic Empire, for all its power and might, was beginning to crumble in the face of an enemy it had dismissed too lightly. The humans were not the helpless, primitive species the Empire had once believed them to be. They were more. And the galaxy was about to learn it the hard way. Back on the Titaness, Aelia smiled grimly as she watched the Imperial fleet continue to retreat. The Empire had thought it could crush humanity with a single blow, but it had underestimated them at every turn. Humanity's ships had shown their true strength, and the galaxy would never forget the day the Empire realized they were not alone in the stars. The next phase was coming, and this time, humanity would strike with everything it had. The war had only just begun. The silence that followed the Imperial retreat was deafening. The vast expanse of space was now dotted with the wreckage of what had once been the pride of the Empire's fleet. Humanity's ships, battle-worn but victorious, lingered in the emptiness as if waiting for the inevitable next move. On board the Titaness, Aelia sat in her command chair, staring at the view screen. She could sense the impending storm. The victory was short-lived. They had won the battle, but the war had only just begun. The Empire will not take this lightly, Aelia murmured under her breath. We need to be ready. Her thoughts were interrupted by a communication from the fleet's intelligence officer, Lieutenant Ryan. Captain, we've intercepted a transmission from the Empire. They're rallying their forces. A full-scale counterattack is imminent. Aelia's expression hardened. How long until they strike? Ryan's voice came through steady but filled with urgency. It could be a matter of days, Captain. They're mobilizing every available ship in the sector. Their retaliation is coming. The hum of the ship's engines was the only sound for a moment as Aelia processed the information. A counterattack was inevitable, but the scale and ferocity of it would determine whether humanity could truly hold its ground. "They'll be coming for us with everything they have," Alia said, her voice resolute. "But we can't let them retake the momentum. We must strike first." She called for a fleet-wide meeting. Her officers assembled in the war room, their faces showing a mix of exhaustion and determination. They had already seen what the Empire was capable of, and now they had to be prepared to face its full might. "Listen up," Alia began, her voice firm and commanding. "The Empire's counterattack will be swift and ruthless. They've underestimated us once, but they won't make that mistake again. We need to take the initiative. If we allow them to regroup, we'll be at a disadvantage." A silence fell over the room as the officers absorbed her words. It was a stark reality, but it was one they knew they had to face. The Empire's pride had been wounded, and it would seek vengeance. "We've proven that we can win," Alia continued. "We've shattered their fleet, but now we need to go on the offensive. Our best chance lies in taking out their reinforcements before they even have a chance to regroup." The officers nodded in agreement, their eyes alight with purpose. They understood the gravity of the situation. The Empire was dangerous, but it was also a massive, unwieldy force. If they could hit hard and fast, they might be able to cripple the Empire's ability to retaliate before it could recover. "Lieutenant Ryan," Alia said, turning to her chief strategist, "prepare a strike plan. We hit them hard before they can regroup. Take out their command ships first. Without their leadership, they'll be lost." Ryan's fingers flew over the control panel, and the holographic map of the galaxy flickered to life. "We'll target their fleet in the Epsilon sector. They're gathering reinforcements there. If we can disrupt their command, they'll be thrown into chaos." Alia nodded, her eyes narrowing as she studied the map. "And we'll do it quickly. No drawn-out battles. We strike fast and hard, like we did before. We'll leave them with no time to recover." The officers dispersed, each with a mission, their steps heavy with the weight of the task ahead. Alia watched them go, knowing that the coming days would be the toughest yet. They had taken down the Empire's initial assault, but this next move would test humanity's resilience like never before. Across the galaxy, in the heart of the Empire's War Council, Commander Varric sat at the head of a long table, his face shadowed in thought. The defeat they had suffered at the hands of humanity had been a bitter blow, one that had sent ripples of shock throughout the Imperial ranks. But there was no time to mourn. The Empire could not afford weakness. Their pride had been wounded, and Varric knew that it was time for the Empire to strike back with full force. "We will make them pay for their insolence," Varric growled, his fists clenched on the table. "They've shown us their ships. Now we will show them what true power looks like." The other commanders nodded, their faces grim with determination. The Empire would not let the humans' victory stand. Varric had already sent word to all available commanders. The Empire's full fleet would converge on the Epsilon sector, where the remnants of their forces would regroup. The humans had struck fast, but now it was time for the Empire to retaliate in kind. "Their ships are advanced, but they are not invincible," Varric continued, his voice steady now. "We have the numbers. We have the firepower. We will crush them before they can strike again." The officers around him stood to attention, their resolve solidifying. They would follow their commander, no matter the cost. This was a war, and in war, there was no room for failure. As the Empire prepared for its counteroffensive, Alia's fleet moved with purpose. The ships of humanity had been repaired and refueled, their crews ready for the next phase of the war. But the shadow of the Empire's retaliation loomed large. Alia knew the Empire would not let them rest for long. The only chance they had to survive was to stay one step ahead. "We've shaken them, but we can't afford to be complacent," Alia said, looking out over the bridge of the Titanus. "The Empire's coming for us, and they won't stop until we're wiped out. We need to hit first, and we need to hit hard." Her officers were already at their posts, preparing for the battle ahead. The Titanus was ready, its guns primed, and its engines roaring to life. Humanity's fleet had already shown the galaxy that they were a force to be reckoned with, and now they would show the Empire just how far they were willing to go to protect their newfound place in the galaxy. "Engage at full speed," Aelia ordered, her voice resolute. "We strike first. We take down their command ships before they can organize a real counterattack. Let's show the Empire that humanity is not so easily defeated." With a roar, the Titanus and the rest of the fleet moved forward into the heart of the enemy's territory. The battle for the galaxy's future was about to intensify, and humanity was ready to fight with everything they had. The Empire might have the numbers, but humanity had something far more dangerous: the will to survive. As the two forces prepared to clash, the fate of the galaxy hung in the balance. The war was far from over, and the outcome would depend on who could outlast the other. Would humanity's ingenuity be enough to hold back the relentless power of the Empire, or would the Empire's sheer might prove too much for the human fleet? The answer would be determined in the coming days. The fleet was on the move, a relentless surge of human determination cutting through the void of space. Aelia stood at the front of the command center, her eyes fixed on the vast, starry horizon before her. The countdown to their final confrontation with the Galactic Empire was underway, and every officer aboard the Titanus could feel the weight of what was at stake. The Empire's retaliation would be the last test. If they failed, it would be the end of humanity's journey in the stars. "Captain, we've entered the Epsilon sector." Lieutenant Ryan's voice broke through Aelia's thoughts. "We're within striking range of the Empire's reinforcements. Their fleet is forming up just ahead." Aelia nodded, her gaze steely. The time had come. Humanity had never faced an enemy like the Empire, but they had already proven that they were capable of far more than anyone had ever expected. They had disrupted the Empire's plans once, and now they would do it again. "Ready all weapons," Aelia ordered. "We strike fast. We hit them where it hurts." The human fleet, having gathered strength over the past few days, was now positioned to launch a devastating assault. It was a carefully coordinated strike, a strike designed not only to defeat the Empire, but to send a message across the stars. Humanity was here, and they were not to be underestimated. "Captain," Ryan said, his voice now filled with anticipation, "the Empire's flagship, the Rex Imperium, is on approach. They're leading the charge." Aelia's lips curled into a grim smile. The Rex Imperium was known across the galaxy for its size and strength. It was the Empire's pride, and destroying it would deal a crushing blow to their morale. "Target their engines and communication arrays," Aelia ordered, her voice cutting through the tension like a blade. "We need to cripple them before they can call for reinforcements." The Titanus and the rest of humanity's fleet moved into position, their weapons primed for action. The silence of space seemed to stretch on forever, but inside the Titanus, every crew member was focused, their attention locked on the battle ahead. As the two forces closed in on each other, the first salvo was fired. Humanity's ships, though smaller and less numerous than the Empire's, were far more agile, more efficient in battle. The Empire's ships were large and powerful, but their size made them slow and cumbersome. The opening volley erupted with a brilliant flash as the energy beams tore through the void, striking the hulls of both fleets. The Titanus rocked with the force of the explosion, but Aelia remained steady. She had seen this before. They had the advantage of speed, and they would use it to the fullest. "Lock onto the flagship's engines," Aelia commanded. "Full power to the forward guns. Aim for their shields." The ship's weapons fired in unison, a coordinated barrage that slammed into the Rex Imperium's defenses. The massive warship shook under the assault, its shields flickering under the strain. But the Empire wasn't going down without a fight. The Rex Imperium retaliated with a volley of its own, its massive guns sending shockwaves through the battlefield. But humanity had anticipated this. Their ships, equipped with the latest in stealth technology, weaved in and out of the incoming fire, narrowly avoiding the deadly blasts. It was a deadly dance, one where every move counted. The human fleet moved like a swarm of wasps, each ship darting in and out, picking off targets, creating chaos among the Empire's ranks. The larger Imperial ships were struggling to keep up, their massive weapons firing wide, their formations breaking apart under the onslaught. "We've breached their shields," Lieutenant Ryan shouted. "We've got a clear shot at their engines." "Fire everything we have," Aelia ordered, her voice firm. "Now is our chance." The Titanus fired its full payload, a concentrated barrage aimed directly at the heart of the Rex Imperium's engines. The explosion that followed was nothing short of spectacular. The flagship shuddered violently as its core ruptured, sending a massive shockwave through the surrounding ships. The Imperial fleet faltered as the Rex Imperium began to break apart, its engines reduced to debris. "Direct hit, Captain. Their flagship is down," Ryan reported, his voice filled with disbelief. Aelia allowed herself a brief moment of triumph, but she knew better than to celebrate prematurely. The battle was far from over. The Empire would not let go of their pride that easily. The remaining Imperial ships regrouped, their desperation evident in their every move. But humanity had already shown its strength, and now they had to finish what they had started. The battle raged on for hours, the vast emptiness of space filled with the sounds of destruction. The human fleet continued to dance between the wreckage, outmaneuvering their enemies with grace and precision. Slowly, the Imperial forces began to buckle. The mighty Empire, so confident in its superiority, was crumbling before humanity's might. One by one, the remaining Imperial ships fell. Their firepower could not match the agility and sheer will of humanity's fleet. The Empire's pride, once so intimidating, was shattered. Aelia stood on the bridge, watching as the last Imperial ships fell into retreat. The battle was over. Humanity had won. They had not only held their ground, but had proven that they were a force to be reckoned with in the galaxy. "Victory," Aelia whispered, a proud smile crossing her face. But even as she allowed herself a moment of relief, her thoughts turned to the future. The Empire might have been defeated today, but there would always be new challenges ahead. Humanity had fought hard for their place among the stars, but the war was never truly over. "We've made our mark," Aelia said, her voice firm. "But we must be ready. This is only the beginning." And as the human fleet sailed into the unknown, Aelia knew that humanity's place in the galaxy had been forever changed. Their legacy, written in the stars, would endure for all time.